Hi, Cherie Hansen here. I am reading to you from my latest blog, which is a response to the book DNA is Not Destiny, The Remarkable, Completely Misunderstood Relationship Between You and Your Genes by UBC psychology professor Stephen Hine, which debunks the hype surrounding DNA testing and puts to rest our mistaken anxieties about our genes. I have 61,000 people subscribe to my blog, and I invite you to come on and subscribe as well. Stephen Hine explores how our psychological biases make us fatalistic about genetics and how these biases intersect with such hot button topics as race, sexual orientation, predilection to crime or disease, eugenics, and genetic engineering. While I was reading this book, I felt as if somebody had removed my dark shadow glasses. How relevant is Hine's study at this time in cultural history, where there is a drive to return to racism, white supremacy, and to deline other races as somehow inferior to the Caucasian race? Is a very important book at this time. I wish to share with you the information that he has carefully studied at great length. There have been shifts in attitude toward groups of people based on the science of genetics that have driven entire cultures in their choices of how to deal with those within their nation and outside of their nation. The first stage of DNA study was to invest DNA with some sort of magical fated imprint that individuals were to be confined within. Epigenetics became the following field of study, following logically. But basically, the nature or nurture pendulum choices have driven hundreds of years of scientific study and experimentation, resulting in a great deal of confusion. New experiments have demonstrated that mice who are trained to fear the smell of cherry blossoms, yes, cherry blossoms, will pass the phobia on to preceding generations. A specific phobia learned by one generation was passed in the sperm to the next generations. Sir Francis Galton in 1869 became interested in the shared script of twins. He studied 35 sets of identical twins and 20 sets of fraternal twins. His discovery created an opening in the structures of belief that were shocking to scientists of his day. One set of twins developed identical toothaches at the same time in the same tooth. Both needed to undergo extraction. Identical twins who lived apart reported the same dream at the same time. Identical twins selected the same jobs and bought the same gifts. What Galton found in his study and what more recent experiments have found is that the following things are inherited by individuals who share identical DNA, even if they have been raised apart. Belief in God, belief in racism, love or hatred of jazz, amount and type of passive watching of entertainment, belief in euthanasia, being a bully, being a hoarder, volunteering to give blood, how happy or content they report themselves to be in their lives, love of science fiction, and likelihood of being mugged. Yes, that's a true story. Eric Turkheimer discovered the first law of behavioral genetics, which is to assume by default that a trait is inherited unless it is proven otherwise. However, studies also indicated the environment can contribute to an individual, some growing as much as 11 inches taller than relatives simply by living in a culture that offers more nutrition in childhood. One definite proof is that contemporary Americans are no longer growing taller each generation simply because of the prevalence of fast food. Their eating is making them shorter and less healthy. People who share the same inherited DNA also respond to the environment in terms of skin color. Descendants of the same family will have lighter skin in Seattle, and following generations will have darker skin if they are living in Los Angeles. An additionally inherited trait is what has been called cognitive misers. These are families that have a trait that causes fear of making any effort. When an individual is caught up in this web, he or she needs to work to consciously adopt a heuristic methodology. Being aware of how a particular event or opportunity fits into our existing belief system about the nature of reality allows an individual to move past and out of the patterning. In ancient times, Hippocrates in 5 BCE structured his belief pattern of the cosmology of the 4 elements: phlegm, blood, yellow bile, and black bile. This was in the school of thought of essence. Things are as they are because of their underlying essence. The study of essence led to the craniometrists in the 19th century stating that criminal faces such as jug ears demonstrated without need for further evidence that the individual was not to be trusted and was, more likely than not, a criminal. The Japanese belief in blood types is another example of the belief in essence, which reverberates throughout our contemporary culture. The following beliefs are or have been shared in various cultures. Deep down and within the body are aspects that cannot be changed. What a person is entirely visible on the surface. The philosophy of you are what you eat led cannibals to select individuals in the enemy tribe that had traits which they wished to ingest and to have in their essence. 1/3 of heart transplant recipients felt that they had taken on an aspect of the donor and been infused with the donor's essence and habits. Wealthy people, the uber-rich, and the corporate heads believe more completely in essence-based thinking than almost any other segment. Some people have power. Some people have the essence of leadership. Some people have slave essence. And when you see that, it is okay to use them as slaves. So throughout the cycles of exploration of the individual and society, there have been shifts in focus from a complete belief in the imprint of nature. The questions of, is this a life sentence? Or of an individual being able to make choices, keep arising. Essence versus environment. The 4 elements, the idea of soul personality, blood types, are all space holders for the concept of essence. Historically, the gene has come to take the place of essence. James Watson declared that our fate is in our genes, but it has led to what the author called the switched on theory. A gene is either switched on or switched off. Genes are natural. Genes are from God. This line of thinking is what has led to a recent socially held belief such as there is an infidelity gene, that divorce is inherited, that IQ is somehow attached to race. The difficulty with essence thinking is that it becomes attached to monumental social beliefs and topics. Gender, for instance, is imbued with essence thinking. It's obvious to be male is inborn, clear, and action-driven, preordained path to power. To be female is to lack power, to be internalized, as their sexual organs are internalized. The countries in the world which are most gender neutral and egalitarian are the Netherlands, Finland, and Germany. Nigeria and Pakistan have an overarching essence-based thinking. But in some of the most economically developed countries in the world, women are still restricted from access to power. In today's world, 47% of all those individuals who are transgendered end up being fired. The commonly held belief is that they cannot be trusted because they do not accept their fate. They do not accept their essence. Many political analysts see that George Bush was reelected primarily because of the same-sex issue, the belief in the unnaturalness of some people. It was a stereotyped threat to the beliefs of a particular segment of society. It was also discovered in test studies that those who were led to believe that homosexuality was in the DNA were less likely to condemn the individuals. Those who believed that the subjects were making unnatural choices were condemning of those individuals. So social attitudes towards homosexuality depends on the concept of essence. The switch is on, and that is your sex, or the switch is off. It is simplistic thinking at best. What we do know is then men with a lot of older brothers are more likely to be gay. The question is there something in the environment of the woman's womb that is at work here? There are more questions than answers. In the legal system in Tennessee in 1910, 1 drop of black blood made you and all your offspring black forever, classifying people as of higher essence than other people based on their DNA inheritance has led to the study of eugenics. Eugenics means good at birth. Certain individuals have been born with a more perfect essence than others. One of the belief systems in North America that is still in place is that intelligence is an inherited essence. In fact, the intelligence indicators in young children show that there are only 5 points variant difference in the entire tested group. This grows to 17 points in adulthood, depending on a number of factors. The evidence states that intelligence is not a genetic gift. It is not a sign from God. It is not an essence. It is not a life sentence. Intelligence emerges from what we learn about our environment, the author reminds us. The information in this book is absolutely relevant in today's world, where the uber-rich see themselves as somehow genetically superior. Those who believe that essence is the divide between people need to know that the switch is not turned on for white people, for powerful people, for successful people. The study of DNA and environment is a much more complex issue. I will go on to present the studies about eugenics and the horror of cruelty that was unleashed in societies across the world based on this simple construct. That will be more next time. Stay tuned. Thank you.